The verdict is in for a murder trial. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bayla Walker. Kinsley is on assignment. Thank you so much for joining us for News 4 at 6. Well, it's been years since police found movie producer Rodney Cleese dead in Dothan. An international pandemic and other obstacles delayed justice, which the Cleese family believes it got this morning. News 4's Ken Curtis with the verdict and reaction to what started as a perplexing crime.
We got a phone call.
A phone call forever etched in Rodnisha Ogburn's mind, one during which she learned her father had died, murdered in cold blood.
Never would have thought that he would have did this.
He is Marcus Hubbard. As her father's best friend, Rodnisha considered him her uncle, or at least she did until her dad died and she found out details that disturbed her, evidence that Hubbard, the man she considered family, was in reality a killer.
Never thought that this day would ever come.
6 years later, a jury delivered the one word Rodnisha longed to hear: guilty.
It's been a long journey.
A journey that began in 2019 when police found Rodney Cleese dead in the yard of his Dothan home. And standing over his body, Marcus Hubbard. Hubbard claimed a mysterious third person had killed his friend. Not until the following year did police assemble enough evidence to charge Hubbard, who lived in the Atlanta area. Cleese, until soon before he died, also lived in Georgia, making his mark as a movie producer and succeeding at other business interests.
I love my dad. Me and my dad was very close, like a best friend.
A friend, a dad, gone because of the jury got it right. He was killed by the man he considered his best friend.
Don't never give up.
Rodnisha Ogburn says she'll forge ahead with life as she waits to find out how much punishment Marcus Hubbard receives. In Dothan, Ken Curtis, your hometown news leader.
Hubbard faces life in prison. As for the Cleese family, they praise the work of Dothan police and lead investigator Terry Nelson, as well as prosecutors.